Hey, Bloomington Normal. Welcome to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9, 309-451-9299. 309-451-9299 is the text number. You can text in today. You can also reach me on Facebook at the Ryan Mack Show. I'm on Twitter, Ryan Mack Show. Wherever you get your podcasts. Most importantly, Cities 92.9. You can watch, stream online if you're not able to hear me live on the radio. And we also have an app. We have an app for that. So download the Cities 92.9 app and listen live when you're on the go. So there's a lot of news happening this week. And so when I try to wrap my brain around where I want to take these conversations each week, I process, well, okay, so this happened, this is big, I should discuss this. And then sometimes you get in a situation where it's too redundant on a lot of these shows, right? So you don't want to cover big stories in the same kind of monotone voice that everybody hears during the week, and kind of like blah, 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 but sounds like the Peanuts teacher. Wah, 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 right? But instead, I kind of want to start off, I'm going to cover a couple things that you may have come across this week, and some things maybe you have not. I don't know. It's my intention each week to bring you some new ideas on how we come across some of these news stories and how we approach these news stories during the week. And it's impossible to do in the 45 minutes that I have. So first, I'm going to pose a question and see if you can agree with where I'm taking it, or if you don't agree, feel free to chime in and text in and give your thoughts. I'm open for that as well, because this is what this show is about. I want to hear both sides. If you agree with me, fine. If not, tell me why. I won't be offended by that at all. So the question I have first is, it's kind of a loaded question, because on the surface it sounds like, yeah, there's no way we're not, right? And if you keep digging further, there's little slow drips and little snippets of information and events that take place that has you kind of picking your brain a little bit as to how to answer this question. So here's the question. Are we still a free country? Well, you might ask yourself, well, that's kind of dumb. Of course, we live in America. Yeah, that's true on the surface, like I said. But are we still a free nation? We have a constitution, right? Do our leaders actually know what the Constitution is? We have a Declaration of Independence. Do we know those documents? Do we actually adhere to those documents very well currently in our country? I don't know how to answer that question anymore. I'd like to think that we are a nation of laws and order and morality and reason and some resemblance of our constitutional republic that when we were created. And I'm seeing cracks in that concrete foundation that our forefathers laid out for us. Now, if you remember, if you weren't as old as Joe Biden was when this was written, Ben Franklin comes down the steps of Philadelphia Convention Center, and someone asks him, "What have you given us?" And he replies, "A republic, if you can keep it." And that is ever more prevalent and important today. Are we still a free nation? Are we still a constitutional republic? On the surface, yes. We still have the right to speak. We still have the right to bear arms. We have so many God-given rights in this country. The freedom to sit behind a microphone and talk about whatever you want to talk about. But if you dig a little deeper, some of these things that we've taken for granted over the years are slowly being chipped away And if we're not careful, if we're not fighting back and pushing back against this, we may lose them for future generations. And I don't think sitting here today, I don't think I want to go through that as I age. I don't want to go through a time where I don't have any of this freedom. And I don't think you do either. So let's dive into the conversation today. Are we a free nation? I pulled up just a simple definition of freedom, okay? Because it's important to get context when you're speaking about a topic as broad as freedom, okay? As a noun, the power or right to speak, act, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Seems to make sense, right? We do have some freedom of choice. It's also an absence of subjection to a foreign domination or despotic government. The state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. So when you think about it, and there's great significance to the passage of time. No, I'm just kidding. Are we a free nation? Well, one might ask, or might want to say, yeah, we're free. We've got more choices and rights than most countries in the world. And that's true. That is true. But as I point out today, we've got examples, at least a couple of them, that show you that there's some cracks in that armor. And I don't think as we are as free as we once were, and I don't think we are as free as we think we are. So what's the first example I got for you? Well, this week has been some revelation, if you've all been seeing it, January 6th, right? What we're learning about January 6th, yes, there were a few hundred people or so that broke into the Capitol building and it's the type of temperament that criminals take when people who are extreme take advantage of a situation like this. You've got a crowd of probably thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know the true size of the crowd. There's a lot of people there that day. But if you think about, there's groups and pods of people who have this extreme idea of let's just storm the Capitol, then you're going to have a few hundred people take advantage of the situation and do things you're not supposed to do as an individual. And people who are law-abiding citizens going there to peacefully and patriotically march and voice their opinion that day stood by and either just stayed back and wonder what the heck was going on, or they actually tried to get involved and plead with the officers that were outmanned that day and say, where's your backup? What is going on? Don't you see this? And it's funny that the left wants to now sit here and say this video shouldn't be seen. This shouldn't be seen. But are we a free country? All this was this week was exposing the gaps that have been placed on the footage. We all want to see footage that day. We have all seen it. We've seen the screams. We've seen the cries. We've seen the violence, the breaking of windows, the breaking down doors of certain entrances, the pushing of cops. But the narrative that this was a deadly insurrection, a little far-fetched. An insurrection is kind of like one of those weird terms. It's high crimes and misdemeanors kind of thing we really have a hard time defining. So this was not an insurrection. This was a rally, and people voiced their opinions, and some others in the crowd who I have condemned it. Look, if you're breaking buildings and you're smashing things and you're stealing stuff or you're vandalizing property, that's criminal. Okay, I don't condone that at all. As a fact, if you should be jailed, you should be jailed. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that story doesn't paint the picture. There wasn't this violent, bloody insurrection. Now, freedom, you might ask. What, are we still free? Well, I don't know, because if you have a different thought on 9/11, you're considered, January 6th. Wow. See, they got me thinking about how bad this is that I compare it to 9/11 automatically. Jeez. that January 6th was just terrible thing. And if you suggest that it wasn't, you are the worst human being of all time. Now, I don't know about you, but living in a free country like America, that allows me my right to have an opinion on whether or not an event was catastrophic or not. You can have that right if you want to sit there and you want to say that the January 6th riot and break into the Capitol was the worst thing since Armageddon and the Titanic and Pearl Harbor. Go at it. Have at it. You can think that. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to censor you. I'm not going to shut you up for thinking that. You may be wrong, or you may have wrong concept in how you approach the overall issue, but you're free to have that opinion. Now, personally, there's two sides to this. If you had one opinion on the election outcome, you can still have a difference of opinion when it comes to the actual breaking into the Capitol. Now, for me, do I think the 2020 election was stolen? I wouldn't go that far as to say it was actually stolen. Without evidence to really dig into, I don't see it. I'm not one of those crazy conspiracy nuts that suggests that somehow this was done on purpose. I have to see evidential proof that an overwhelming amount of fraud occurred. And to this day, we haven't seen to that level. And even in the case that there is no mechanism in the Constitution that allows for a sudden change in circumstances. There's not that level of remedy. So again, if you're chiming in, feel free to text in your thoughts, 309-451-9299. We're talking today about freedom. Are we still a free country? I've got some examples that maybe kind of push that to suggest, yes, we are, but. So there's some examples where we may have some issues with this all-out question. Now, I'm not saying that we're still not a free country, but I'm going to I'm not going to lie to you and say that we are without question. I think there are certain things that we still can do freely, but there's a lot of examples. Recent history will tell you that some of our rights, including these freedoms we have to do certain things, have been chipping away. And that's a problem for one of the freest countries on the planet to no longer be able to do some of the things that our forefathers said we could do. Yeah, that's a real problem. I don't want to be any part of that. So I got into this kind of first segment just to discuss an overall arching theme. Are we a free nation? Do we have the freedoms that we laid out? Do we still have them? Are they under attack? Chime in, 309-451-9299. Let me know your thoughts. When we get back after break, I'm going to dive into an example of that's not really the case according to this certain sitting U.S. Senator. Stay tuned. This is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. Hey, welcome back to the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Text in and let me know your thoughts on today's topic. It was a question I asked at the beginning of the show, beginning of the segment. Are we still a free country? Do you agree with that? Do you think that we're still a free country? Or is it a yeah, but situation where, yes, we're free, but there are signs of certain things happening that make you question the total freedom that we have? Because if you really take this thing all the way back to the constitutionality, a lot of these laws wouldn't exist. If you absolutely broke it down to Constitution and you adhered to the Constitution, yes, states have rights to make their own laws and craft their own way of some sorts, but it can't usurp the Constitution, right? So they have federalism powers. What's not explicit in the Constitution shall be given to the states, right? But it's not going to, how do I say that? It's not supposed to go beyond the level of the Constitution. So anything that breaks constitutionality at the state level has to go up against the Constitution of the U.S. federal level. And if it supersedes that, then it is deemed unconstitutional and therefore shut down. So today we've been talking about, are we still free? And I believe we are, but I also believe that we've got cracks in the armor and we need to rectify these cracks and seal them before they break. And that can lead to more problems in our future generation. So first, I posed a question, gave a little brief summary and brief description of what freedom was. And then this is going to lead into some examples here. So this week on Capitol Hill, there's a lot of hearings on different things. You've got the Twitter files being exposed, and Democrats are just shrieking. They're losing their minds at these journalists that are going out there just telling the thing how it is, telling it exactly how they see it. And these people, both these individuals, aren't exactly conservative journalists, but they tell it how it is, and they think it's important that we have journalism held in check, and that we should be able to expose what is happening behind the lines. Is the FBI meddling with big tech in order to censor the other side? So that's some of the things that I'm kind of leading to today, is that, are we free? And if we're free, why is there war on culture? Why is there war on the political side? Now, we've always been a system of two major political parties, but that used to be that we had an overall arching theme, a goal in mind, and we came together for the betterment of the country, right? Liberals, conservatives, you had your differences in how public policy should be placed and how it should be constructed, but the overall goal you shared was that you want it to be better for the country overall. So today it is not that. It's cracked, it's divided. That's why the Marjorie Taylor Greene's calls for national divorce really kind of makes sense. If you think about it, I'm not advocating for it. But if you start breaking down some of the things, why would you want to live next to somebody that completely is off the rocker and thinks that, the way they do in California? I wouldn't want to live with somebody like that. I live in Illinois. I don't want any part of California turning Illinois into California. And it's already doing that. But those are some of the things that is in my mind this week. Are we free? Yeah, but. Okay? All right, so feel free to share your thoughts. 309-451-9299. Feel free to text in. I always love interacting with all of you. I know I have some favorites on my text line that like to text in and give me some grief, and that's fine too. You disagree with anything I say or don't like anything I say, feel free to tell me. So this week, Schumer, sitting Democrat senator, majority leader, not minority leader, Biden, he goes up there on Capitol Hill, and in light of Tucker Carlson on his show revealing some footage that leaves more evidence to suggest that this wasn't as deadly of a day as Democrats make it out to be. It's not 9/11. It's not the worst day since Vietnam. It's not the Titanic sinking. Yes, some people did something, according to Omar, right? Some really bad, idiotic people broke into a Capitol building, but 5 officers didn't die that day. 4 of them died later on by suicide, I believe. I'm not sure if that checks out. I think I heard something earlier about that today. One of them, Brian Sitnick, is seen walking around the Capitol, and his face was supposed to be bashed in. So, again, you can't edit something to add. You can only edit to take out. So the Democrats left you this hole in all the footage, and those crying about what is in this Tucker revelation are crying to withhold the other gaps that they held in the committee. They wanted to see the carnage that day. They only wanted to show you a picture of bloody details. Well, there's a lot of footage that has been revealed to suggest that there's a lot more going on than just the idiots that broke in. The famous QAnon shaman, he is in prison for 4 years on basically a trumped-up trespassing charge. If you look at the video showing almost the entire time since he's been in the building, he's going, knocking on doors and see if they're locked. Mind you, he's walking by about a half a dozen to a dozen officers and nobody's stopping him. If this was that deadly of a day and he was the main culprit in charge of overthrowing the election and ruining our democracy, you would think that they would arrest him the first chance they got, right? But they didn't. They almost, as if they were giving him a special grand tour and how to eventually get in the Senate chamber. That's all he wanted to do, just kind of walk around. He prayed about the officers as he was in the chamber as well. So there's so many gaps that filled in when Tucker revealed this. And of course, Schumer this week just about crapped his diaper and had to put his popcorn down, and he just could not continue to contain himself. So here's a clip of that very freedom that I posed a question to in the beginning of the show. Are we still free? Here is a sitting U.S. Senator telling a media company, stop playing this video because I don't like it. Here is about a 30-second clip of Schumer crying himself and wetting his pants and telling Fox News, you can't, this is going to ruin democracy.
These lies continue tonight. Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
So let me get this straight, Chuck. Your democracy depends on you calling to Fox News and telling him not to play video footage of a day that you want to paint a bigger picture as deadly, and it may not have been as deadly as you painted. So, what? So you're telling Fox News not to play footage showing the other side of the video, blowing up your narrative that this was some deadly attack. Right? Am I hearing this right? Freedom. This is America. You have a sitting U.S. Senator crying about a television host not playing the entire video footage. Because that's the Democrats' narrative. They don't want you to really think about any other scenario. They want you to think like them. They want you to agree that and stab it through your forehead and paste it that this day, January 6th, was the deadliest day since 9/11, Pearl Harbor, Armageddon, the apocalypse, Gettysburg. These are all the examples in which they said January 6th fits in. Are you serious? What? I posed the question again. Are we free? Because this example of a U.S. Senator complaining and wetting his pants about a media company freely exercising their right in the Constitution to give their side of the story. And all Tucker's doing is sharing it. He's not saying it wasn't a bad day. He's simply saying there's more to the story than Democrats are leading on. If you're tuning in, this is the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. 309-451-9299 is the number. We are talking about freedom today. It's the overall arching theme. And rather than get into a whole lot of mess going on with this situation, I just wanted to feed into kind of my overall theme. Are we still free? Can I just play this a 30-second clip of Chuck Schumer basically blasting Fox News for playing it? So now, he, at this point, goes to the Senate floor. And he again tries to spew about Tucker's footage release. And now he hasn't had all 40,000 minutes or 40,000 hours released, but he's releasing it, parts as he goes, and explains the side of the story that needs to be revealed. So here's Chucky again on the Senate floor, wetting his diaper.
Last night, millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television. with contempt for the facts, disregard of the risks, and knowing full well he was lying to his audience. Fox News host Tucker Carlson ran a lengthy segment last night arguing the January 6th Capitol attack was not a violent insurrection. By diving deep into the waters of conspiracy and cherry-picking from thousands of hours of security footage, Mr. Carlson told the bold-faced lie that the Capitol attack, which we all saw with our own eyes, was somehow not an attack at all. He tried to argue it was nothing more than a peaceful sightseeing tour. Can you imagine? A nonviolent demonstration, a perfectly fine and appropriate instance of people expressing their opinion. I, so many others who were here in the Capitol, and millions of Americans are just furious with Tucker Carlson and Kevin McCarthy today. Many of my staff were here at the Capitol on January 6th. Their lives were put in danger. As were the lives
I can't anymore deal with this. He sits there and says Tucker's lying, but this is the same guy in charge of the party that made up all kinds of lies about Donald Trump. Hey, stay right there. This is the Ryan Max Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. We'll be right back. Hey, Bloomington Normal, welcome back to the Ryan Max Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. 309-451-9299 is the text line. Feel free to text in today. We're having a discussion on freedom and if we are still a free country that our founders gave us when they created the Constitution. Famously, Ben Franklin, as I discussed earlier, walks out of the Philadelphia stairs, out of the convention, after he just got done ratifying the Constitution, and he's asked, "What have you given us?" And his reply, "A republic if you can keep it." Now, to this day, have we kept it? I would say for the most part, yes. But are there certainly signs that some of the things that we have been given have been eroded? I would like to think so. From the overarching laws and states that go against the Constitution to the high tax bills and high tax laws to censoring of conservatives on social media to corporations not doing business with conservative-minded people, and break down the aspect of gun laws across the states, across the country, and states that don't like guns because orange man bad, suddenly, and orange gun bad. Guns kill people. Well, they only kill people if you shoot them. That's how guns only kill people. So if we really go back to the constitutionality of this whole thing, none of these gun laws that restricted the Second Amendment would be in place. If we really were a free people, a free country, based on the values that our forefathers given us, the Second Amendment would be not even close to be restricted. Now, do we still have it? Yeah. Do we have protections against it from the Supreme Court that every time a Democrat decides to take a gun away, they get stopped? Yes. But in its totality, the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. And yet, to this date, we have numerous laws still being written to infringe upon that right. So the question comes back to, are we a free country? It goes back to, but. Yes, but things are happening. Things are being done, and it's not a all at once. It's a slow drip, a slow takeaway, a take an inch here, take an inch there. And that's really what by design, because it's giving up freedoms and liberty for a false sense of security. If you just let us do this, we'll go ahead and give you a little bit of this. It's no different than the COVID-19 pandemic when it first started. Just 2 weeks to slow the spread. Just 2 weeks of your freedom. Just give us 2 weeks. That's just 2 weeks. And what did 2 weeks turn into? 3 years. 3 years of this crap. And they decided to not just use it for COVID, but climate change. They moved on to the next grab. Now, you can't charge your phone because of climate change. You have to have clean energy charging your phone. You can't plug in your car because you don't have enough power because fossil fuel bad. You see, there's a little bit of grab. Take an inch, take a mile. If you give them an inch, they're going to take 3 miles. That's how Democrats do this. And it blows my mind, the level of idiocy that exists in this country. The ones who actually enjoy the freedoms and want the freedoms to stay in place, those are the ones fighting the hardest. The ones who put all of their faith and all their trust blindly, suckling at the government teat, are the same ones going, yeah, just 2 weeks, guys, just 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks turned into 2 years of hell. 3 years of hell. And for what? Now we're seeing the rollback. Oh, you don't need a vaccine mandate. No, that's fine. Look at New York. For 3 years, they told you to put a damn mask on. Look what happened. They made you wear a mask because it would stop killing people. Now, Eric Adams is telling you in New York, no, you can't wear a mask. You might still kill people, but you'll kill people and rob them instead of wearing a mask. For 3 years, it told you wearing a mask would save lives. Now they're telling you not to wear a mask because it'll save lives. How much longer are you willing to put up with this crap? How much longer are you going to withstand more of your rights, more of your freedoms taken away before you go, oh, I get it. I don't want this. How much more insane do you need to see? This has to stop. When are you going to wake up? Yeah, I'm talking to you, liberals. Not the progressive nuts, not the ones that have no brain cells left, the ones that have a tiny bit of a fraction of brain cells left in their brain. When are you going to wake up and say, you know what, maybe I don't want this anymore? What is it going to take? Till you literally have nothing? Like Russia? Like China? Like North Korea? Is that going to be what it is that finally breaks you? That you'll have nothing and like it? Well, if liberals have their way and progressives have their way here, the elitists have their way, you will have nothing in 10 years and like it. You'll be forced to accept that. Not me. Not now, not here. My generation was once made fun of because we didn't know how to do a lot of things. Now we're the ones in charge of fixing and saving everything. And that should scare a lot of you. Gen Z and millennials make up the largest driving force of the generations now, of coming into their prime, coming to their age. And instead, the ones who don't think that this is worth saving, they're over there eating tofu and picking bugs out of their teeth because they're eating that stuff. That's the ones who are in charge of saving this republic. I don't know about you, but I sure as heck don't want any of them fighting for it. They don't want guns. They don't want meat. They don't like cow farts. I don't want any part of that. Are we still free? That question I posed today. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about, are we still a free country? I would say yeah, but. Yes, we are. But there's a lot of caveats to that. I went a little bit of a rant there, but it's the same principle, it's the same idea. We're talking a lot of different things that add up to more questions on if we actually have the freedom that was given to us still. It's that, yeah, but I need that answer to. And it's a gray area currently. You're seeing it with Twitter before Musk took it over. You're seeing it with this week with Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer roasted Tucker, Capitol Hill, as did a lot of other Democrats. But they're scared to death of that, the fact that we might see that they're all full of crap and that their lies are just rolling down a hill waiting to be kicked because we see them for who they are. Now, do they lie to the level of George Santos? Maybe not. That's debatable. I'm not saying that Republicans don't lie, but in the grand scheme of things, the lying about the stuff that can be proved entirely, Democrats do it every single day, and they'll spin it with euphemisms. That's what they do. Now, corporations try to take away freedoms, right? This whole war on women this week, the International Women Week, They can't, from the same party that tries to cry, we got to save women's rights and save reproductive health care. It's the same party who can't freaking define what a woman is. And they want to shove International Women's Week and month down your throats with this nonsense. A man can be a woman. A woman can be a man. I think I talked about it a few weeks back. You want to be a unicorn? You want to be a furry? Do it at 18. Do it when you're an adult. And do it in your own privacy of your own home. Oh, that's not really freedom. Yeah, it is. But when you start injecting it near kids, and you're putting on drag queen shows in front of kids, that becomes crossing the border of freedom. It's no longer freedom. It's criminal. We have laws in this country. You're free to be a unicorn. You're free to be whatever you want to be. Keep it away from kids. But the attack on Christianity in this country, the attack on Catholics by the FBI, the attacks on people who just want to live their lives and not have to be harassed every time they go. That's the freedom overall theme that I'm talking about. You want to do what you want to do, you are free to do it. Do it over there and stop forcing it down our throats. Now, we have companies that are going woke and going broke. You might also have seen this week that in light of International Women's Week, Hershey, of all places, decided to come out and honor women with a biological man and call that beautiful. How is that beautiful? International Women's Week, a biological man is the face of the candy bar this week, calling it Hershey. There's nothing she about that. That's a man. Stop pretending that. So you know what happens? When you punch in the face, we punch back. Conservatives and like-minded individuals, innovative leaders. We come up with ideas and a parallel economy to kick your square in the balls and tell you there is a difference and I'm drawing a line. We have to start pushing back and calling this out for what it is. Utter nonsense defying reality. You want to be free? Be free. But stop forcing us to go along with it, the ones that don't want to go along with it. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't think of any other way to describe it. The insanity that half this country has on the small majority telling us that we have to abide by it and live by it and accept it because that's the way it is. I'm not doing that. If you're just tuning in, this is the Ryan Max Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington's Normal. Text in 309-451-9299. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Ryan Max Show on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. 309-451-9299. 309-451-9299 is the text number. Be a fan of the show. Feel free to join in. Not always probably agree with what I got going on and what I say, but I'm always excited to read the text and responses to what I'm talking about. Like I said at the beginning of doing this, I'm not the most well-spoken individual. I'm new at this game. I have a lot to say. Sometimes it comes out the right way, sometimes it doesn't. I enjoy doing this. I've come at it from a different perspective. There's other ones in this that have been doing it longer, not just podcasting, but doing radio. I thoroughly enjoy it. I never knew that I thought I would, but I do. But anyway, let me know how your thoughts are today is shaping up. We've been talking about freedom today. Are we still free? I talked earlier in the show. If you missed it, you can catch the podcast on the cities92.9.com. Just click on the podcast link and hit the Ryan Max Show, and you can listen to today's episode from earlier. But we talk about freedom, and I posed the question, are we still free? And I went into the January 6th fallout, and Chuck Schumer's crying and whining about how Fox News should shut down Tucker because he doesn't like anything that Tucker's saying. And so in this anti-fascist way of saying it, he wants Fox News to cut Tucker from showing the video. I can't think of anything more fascist than that. It's the same party that is full of tolerance, the same party that has a war on women, that they can't even define what a woman is, the same party of respect all genders, respect all races, is probably the biggest hypocrite of both parties, to say the least. But that's where we're at today. We're talking about freedom. Are we still a free country? From January 6th fallout to censorship to gun rights to things you think you can say. Can you still say them for fear of censorship? I don't know. Can you still have a gun? Some states you can freely walk around with it. Some states you can't. That's federalism. But it undermines the Constitution, the U.S. level. There's a lot of problems with that too. But then I went into corporations imposing their will on conservatives, waging a war there. Now, I was just getting to, before this last segment, I was talking about Hershey's and their war on women. They can't define what a woman is, so let's just put a man on a wrapper and call it Hershey. Well, here's a genius. The co-founder of Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, he co-founds Daily Wire. It's a media group. Started with Ben Shapiro, and he also has Jeremy's Razors. Now, Harry's Razors went woke a few years ago, and so he brought it to light that, we should stop giving our money to woke corporations. And I agree with that. I wholeheartedly support that idea. If you're going to create something so stupid and take my money and put it towards things I don't believe with, I'll vote with my money. I'll vote with my wallet. I'll take it elsewhere. So, Jeremy does that. He does it very well. Now, he's taking on Hershey's chocolate. And I wholeheartedly agree with this message. Now, he has a witty way of taking care of the competition.
Women's Day is upon us again.
Oh.
International Women.
All right, so he has a way of taking out the woke left with his marketing. So here's an ad of his new chocolate coming out, and he's already sold about 500,000 chocolate bars on pre-order. Now, overnight, that doesn't just happen. So obviously there's a process involved. But nonetheless, creative marketing. So here we go. Jeremy's Razors has Jeremy's chocolate.
This day is upon us again. And I love an international woman. But our friends over at Hershey's, they don't even know what a woman is. They've hired a biological male to be the spokesperson for their Women's Day campaign. And they're calling that campaign, and I swear I'm not making this up, Hershey. Hershey. It's humiliating. And it's the reason that I'm launching Jeremy's chocolate. We have two kinds. She, her, and he, him. One of them's got nuts. If you need me to tell you which one it is, keep giving your money to Hershey's. But if you're tired of giving your money to woke corporations that hate you, and you're looking for a delicious chocolate bar from a company that actually wants your business, head over to IHateHershey's.com and order Jeremy's chocolate today.
You heard it right there. Jeremy's chocolate. IHateHershey's.com. That is gold. If you're tired of giving your money, hard-earned money, to woke companies, and they're going to take your money and take it elsewhere and use it against causes you don't agree with, take your money and put it towards things that actually show value to you. So there's a lot of great companies and innovative people out there. Elon Musk is another one. He decided that he had enough of Twitter running amok and running over the Constitution and freedom of speech. So he decided to buy Twitter and take it private. I wish he could buy a lot of things and take it private, because that way we'd have a lot more freedoms in this country from the government. But there it is. Now, how is that tying into freedom? Well, that's just it. We don't have a freedom of thought currently with corporations. They want to shove things down our throats, and to the point where they sell their product and make you buy it and then take our money that we give them to buy said product and then put it towards values that we don't agree with. So essentially creating a monopoly of causes and BS things they can support, like climate change or gender equality. You have a company that is world known for their chocolates. I mean, it's pretty good candies. They got a mix of candy. I watched a documentary on the founding of Hershey. It's pretty cool. And it comes far and away where it is today, where they've decided to go full-blown woke and go to the left on every level. And now we have men on candy wrappers parading around as women for International Women's Day. Not to mention the fact that Jill Biden this week comes out and gives a biological male a Women of Courage award. If that doesn't tell you where we are in our country this day and age in 2023, I don't know what else tells you. Welcome to 2023, where women of courage are now men. You just things that make you go laugh. I don't understand it. So that's where we're at today. Are we still free? I would say yeah, but we have the freedom to say what we want. Yeah, but conservatives are taking a beating on social media for it. We're getting censored. We have the right to bear arms. Yeah, but if you live in a state that doesn't support that, your rights are hindered. Are we still free? Yeah, but Walgreens can't take your money in California because Gavin Newsom decides to kick out Walgreens for not selling abortion pills. Crazy. Guys, this has been the Ryan Mack Show on Cities 92.9. Thank you so much for listening today. Join me next week from 2 to 3 on Saturdays. See ya.